There is something incredibly beautiful going on, I think, in the world of MMORPGs, but let's keep this focused on the Guild Wars 2 conversation, at least at the start of this video. If you haven't seen, there's kind of two really big announcements that have been made from the Guild Wars team in a post talking about the future of Guild Wars 2. Those being, they are already confirming a fourth expansion, and at the same time, they're also talking about the Steam version of the game, saying that that's their top priority, along with like DirectX 11 and obviously fixing bugs and even putting out a roadmap for End of Dragons. And the reason I wanted to sit down and actually talk to you guys today about this is that when I tweeted about this yesterday, I got a lot of responses asking about the Steam update. Also generally excited for Guild Wars because they also announced they've more than doubled their active player base over the last year, which makes sense when you factor in the fact that people are excited about a new expansion, and it's been a while since the Path of Fire expansion. But what I really wanted to sit down and why I think this is so exciting and why I think this is just in and of itself newsworthy is the idea that they're already confirming another expansion after End of Dragons. If you saw the update in the world of Guild Wars 2 so far, typically critiques that I see from the community overall are they really don't do any marketing. That's one of the biggest weaknesses that people feel about the game itself. And beyond that, I would say an inconsistent update schedule. However, I think things have really been changing in the world of MMOs, and I think overall, as as a fan of the genre, we're seeing big shifts. And I think what we've seen here with Guild Wars and the devs is that promise that they started back in July of last year, really kind of reiterating, refocusing in on what would really keep players engaged. There's no subscription fee for Guild Wars 2. There never has been. And one of the things that game I think we've always questioned is that would a subscription fee actually make more sense in terms of keeping players engaged and in getting content out on the regular, or is there a new business model that would ultimately work best for them? And I think that's what we're starting to see. I think when you look at what ESO does well, when you look at what Final Fantasy XIV does well, when you look at what insert successful MMORPG does well, it's consistent updates, it's communication, and it's obviously rolling out that content. And that's what they just did with End of Dragons. And what they've just done in this note is also say your investment in our game is still worth it, because guess what? There's a fourth expansion. MMOs are some of the most interesting in terms of the individual games, but as a genre, it's so fascinating just for me to kind of study it. You look at what works, what doesn't, why certain things work for maybe certain communities and maybe they don't work for other communities. And when I just factor it all down, is that MMOs are beyond the game itself, because they're not just a live service game. There's something a little bit more to it, because if it was just a live service game, there's things that you don't necessarily have to consider, but they have a huge aspect of community and they have a huge aspect of investment. And that means is my time going to be valued? One of the things that I have on my script list as I've been kind of working on scripts is the idea of what game actually does respect your time. I've seen that as a phrase brought up. We talked about it just last week in the whole milk drama scenario. And really the thing that it comes down to is that I don't think games are meant to respect your time. If you're having fun, that's the real aspect. I actually really enjoy grindy games. So when somebody says a game is too grindy, actually it piques my interest. It makes me generally curious. What do they mean by too grindy? Because everybody is going to have their own scale. But before End of Dragons even came out, I already pre-ordered End of Dragons. I actually have the expansion. Obviously it launched in a very crazy filled time in my life with games alone, and so I have yet to actually step into it, but I'm planning on actually playing through it. In fact, I just put a poll up on the community page. If you haven't seen that, and if you're curious, check it out. Basically just kind of looking for your thoughts on my approach to actually finishing off Guild Wars 2. I've got a couple of different 80s level cap characters, and then I have some that I haven't finished leveling quite up yet. So ultimately, do I finish leveling? Do I just jump into the expansion? Either way, let me know. I think what they've done is some of the best marketing right now. It's what Yoshi P has done in Final Fantasy XIV. He's already talking about 7.0. He's already talking about a new 10-year plan after finishing the Endwalker story. And it has people going, and I've had some, awesome conversations with several gamers talking about, like, yeah, they could feel like they're done with Final Fantasy 14. And really, the game is going to continue, I think, to invite them back in. And there's nothing wrong with taking breaks. And that's what I think with what Guild Wars 2 is actually communicating to everybody. Because when I go look at just the numbers, like on Steam charts and on, I'm not Steam charts, specifically Stream charts, I get those words, mixed up. Like when it comes to like content creation and the community around it, obviously Guild Wars 2 is growing based off of the expansion alone. But when there's this massive lack of content, that actually acts as something that is not necessarily inviting past players back in. Ender Dragons brings in a huge amount of players, but it also allows, especially for the content creator community, to sit down and say, yes, this is what's happening, but also this is what's coming. This is why it's worth investing your time in the game right now, because there's also new stuff on the way, and them already verbally confirming, or I guess, publicly confirming a new expansion. I think that is something that's going to be excellent for the Guild Wars 2 community. That's going to be excellent for us as fans and players, because ultimately the question is that, well, I mean, is Ender Dragons it? And then, what's my time worth in that regard? It's not time wasted. I don't think it's about a respect of time thing at all. I think it's that, is my investment in my character going to be worth it? We've seen MMOs that stop making content and then they don't exist, even if the fan bases still do. I'm really excited that WildStar is working. The people are working on a private server for that. I wouldn't mind stepping back into WildStar. Same thing for like Age of Reckoning, Warhammer Online, big community over there. And it's really good to see that exists. But what I think players crave, especially when it comes down to the MMO genre as a whole, is seeing a future for the game, seeing that roadmap that they're already putting together for the spring, also looking towards a 4th expansion. No specific date on that just yet, but just the knowledge that that is a part of their plan, and the fact that they've delivered previous expansions, and overall, like, the game is a lot of fun. I think that's a huge win. Now, again, I always seem to get, I'm going to get a comment on this for sure. But I hope that whether it is with the Steam version, but I would still love to see some actual controller support for Guild Wars 2. I think a lot of players, at least that follow this channel, definitely have that same mindset. But at its core, I'm so excited to see, Guild Wars 2 is going to continue on to the future. I'm very much excited about when I get the opportunity to jump into Guild Wars 2. Right now, from a content and my games perspective, I'm just knee deep in Triangle Strategy. I don't think you could pull me away from that game. That's where I'm living right now. Destiny 2, New World. That's kind of really what's kind of consuming my online game time. And hopefully I'll wrap some stuff up there. I want to jump into Elden Ring, and then maybe I'll look at Guild Wars, or do Guild Wars then Elden Ring. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, that's what's going on in this neck of the woods. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the essay style videos. I think overall, from the numbers perspective, y'all are. But yeah, thank you so much for watching those. Hopefully you enjoy. More are on the way. We're going to keep rolling out and kind of playing around with some content and some styling here on the channel itself. If you guys are generally curious as to what I'm talking about and you've made it this far in the video, just note that I've broken off like all the news and different kinds of content into their own specific game related channel, like Ginger JRPG focusing on Final Fantasy 11 to 14 specifically, Ginger Destiny, just Ginger World, etc., Ginger Blue, like all kind of focusing in on a key aspect within gaming, namely so that I can do the smaller style videos, things like that would ultimately kind of like step on like an essay style video here and whatnot. So it's actually going really well. So I'm very pleased with how that's functioning. Anyway, not here to waste your time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you have a great, wonderful day. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But anyway, until then, guys, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.